Divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their free national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine and national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under a free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those who know law in the city hall and amongst the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into marvelous light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver, and commerce belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principle, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national government, free government, and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mine back to their own national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by clinging or claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. And all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standard of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issues and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon the earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendment brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men free and equal. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution, and if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of our people. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost. And that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down in yonder hills. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God, Allah, or the great God of the universe, is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people. And this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin, which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South, and I have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things that bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that live the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finances to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet, Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Brandon Bay, how you doing, man? See you, man.
Yeah. We just mentioned you getting off the road.
Brandon Bay, Islam.
That's perfect. And you were in the area.
You know, my mother lived
That's what, right down the street.
right on Coco.
Wow,
3 apartments down.
okay.
I
So
walked it.
here? We walked over here. Wow. Over here. So we have a parking space left. Well, great. We got a parking space left. We got a parking space left. You know, parking over here. So you know the parking is crazy over here, right? How does your mom get over there?
And maybe more.
And the parking is the same for her complex.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How does she so?
Let me, because I got people on the Zoom. Let me just finish running through the, yes. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work in their homes and on the streets, for we are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cars at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they shall turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state while the prophet found you. This is the holy and divine movement founded by Prophet Noble Joe Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Jew Ali, Islam.
Islam.
Transitioning to a comprehensive antidote. So do you got the prayer, divine warning,
What was this last
uh,
one?
oral statements
Oh,
from the prophet, and that was called Prophet Warns All Muslims,
okay.
number 8. And, so now I'm transitioning to a comprehensive antidote to a prophet's quote. And the quote that we're going to be analyzing is a statement that the prophet made: "I have mended the broken wires and have connected them to higher powers." That's what we're analyzing.
Can you repeat that, please?
So it was
Mended the broken wires and connected them to a higher power.
Yep. Mhm. So where does the wealth of the government come from? To avoid long drawn out answers and to be direct, the answer is the people. The people throughout the endeavors, affairs, pursuits of happiness, exercise of rights, etc. In order to paint a picture, let's go back in time to the time of merchants, markets, and travelers by horseback. Street merchants, or just people, would often trade goods and services for gold or money, spices, clothes, etc., which is called bartering. When dealing with society, sociology, civics, and human nature, we are dealing with the descent elements in various degrees of people. Merchants often had to deal with bandits, thieves, stagecoach robbers, highwaymen, and outlaws. To protect the affairs, welfare, and livelihood of the people, those merchants gathered together in order to formulate a plan to protect themselves. This meeting of the minds formulated a philosophy, and that philosophy is now known as political science. This science opened up many new jobs, duties, and official positions within the society, ranging from clerks, administrators, trustees, magistrates, mailmen, women, consulates, embassies, secretaries, executives, judicial officers, sheriffs, and the like. This new science and history of robbery, death, and the like gave birth to the philosophies of governmental duties and jurisprudence. The sole duty of government can be reflected in the opening lines of the Declaration of Independence, where it states the following, quote, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. And you can think about diversity of citizenship and the universal right of self-determination as a principle in this, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation, right? Think of declaring your nationality. That's the line in the sand. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, that whatever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. And think trust, think charters, think duties, think obligations, right? Laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms of which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object invents a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. And you could think of Unum Sanctum in the Cratera Divina, Doctrine of Discovery, Christian Crusade, Spanish Inquisition, and its involvement. So the reason these extracurricular statements are mentioned as we're reading this is to show you that these things, reduced government. It brought it down to a lower vibration. And so you don't want to be living in unum sanctum or if consciously, right? I don't even know if everybody, let me just step back and see, everybody familiar when I say unum sanctum, Indicatera Divina, Doctrine of Discovery? Is that new lingo?
I heard it, but I need some refreshing on the definition.
So the,
Sanctum is a form of government.
but it's a directive from the Pope to colonize the original people. It was an order. And yeah, that's what, depending on what time period, it might be called unum sanctum. During a different time, it was called Indicatera Divina. During a different time, it was called Doctrine of Discovery. During a different time, it was called Christian Crusades. But all these were directives of the to destabilize the original people. Yeah, they're different orders. Yeah, but all those are called papal bulls. Papal, PAPAL, and then BULLS. And all these things is to throw off such republic governments and destabilize them, not to be confused with overthrow, and to provide new guards for their future security. Think reestablishing the Article 4, Section 4 Constitution, the right to have a republic form of government. So when things is destabilized, the people have the right to come together and correct it, right? And your constitutional right to have a republic is simply the opposite of a democracy, which means the people of the land are the organizing government. So once again, you go to Cuba, the police is Cuban, the mayor is Cuban. You go to Venezuela, the mayor's Venezuelan, the cops is Venezuelan. Everybody's Venezuelan, all the organization, government. That's a sign of a republic. So once our people here, that's what we're trying to do, is wake our people up to a point where we do organize and form a republic. The difference is people in different areas know who they are already. We just, a little ladder. So as the times change, the administration of governments may have changed, but its purpose has never and will never change. Governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Once again, once government stops protecting yourself, or once government stop protecting your rights, uses fear to guide public opinion in order to persuade its people to give up their rights via trickery, deceit, misprision, coercion, and attacks upon the very people they pretend to protect. Those person, agents, and agencies clearly stop being government, position themselves within the realm of existence as de facto, thus no longer being a government by the people, or de jure, is no longer de jure government, and become a government of over the people, like in a tyrannical form, which is a democracy. A mob in the seat of government, the unworthy in the seats of honorable, noble women and noble men. The position of public officials rightfully belong to liberals. We'll go into a definition of liberal, because I know most people have heard it in the sense of being a Democrat is liberal, Republican is conservative, but that's all democracy, pseudo propaganda. So liberal, adjective from Old French, liberal, befitting free people, noble, generous, willing, zealous, directly from the Latin liberalis, which states noble, gracious, munificent, generous, literally of freedom, pertaining to or befitting a free person, from liber, which is free, unrestricted, unimpeded, unabridged. There is no separation between church and state, as good moral character and ethical conduct is mandatory to become part of a public office due to the nature of the positions and the duties they entail. Muslims, Jews, Christians, Buddhists, etc., may all be congressmen and women, as well as holding other positions in government. The only regulation on religion is set at Article 6, Clause 3 of the American Constitution. The senator, quote, and I'm going to read what that says. Article 6, Clause 3, quote, the senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislators and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states. So the several states will be body politics created by their true Americans. Those are states. Temples are states. Body drill societies are states. Body politics are states, right? So we got, and you see the language in the Article 6, it says the United States and the several states, right? Everybody, that makes sense? That's Article 6, Clause 3. We already know that's all called the Supremacy Clause. And we know Article 6, Clause 1 and 2 is dealing with treaties. Treaties being the supreme law of the land. All right, so the United States and the several states shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So that was just a cross reference to support the statement earlier that religion is not a test to hold an office. Another example on how church is not separate from state, or religion, nature's law, nature's God is not separate from state, which is the administration of government by the people, is revealed in the following religious texts: in common law stare decisis and res judicata. Holy Bible, quote Matthew 23, chapter 23, verse 11. The greatest among you will be your servant. So that's a trust, that's a trust statement in the Bible. Because the trustees are essentially the servants, right? So the greatest among you will be your servant. Matthew 23, 11. Now this Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, chapter 24, a quote in that chapter dealing with the magistrate and subject. 1, verse 1. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power. Right, so are we following the code, the cohesion? Right, so this cross-referencing to support trust law, elected officials, how they servants. This is what this is all about. Although the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and to set as a ruler over themselves, consider the ends and importance of their trust, facts more than the dignity and the height of thy station. So these are our holy books. So and this is a side note that came in my mind, like once again, like when we're in court, we file stuff like this, like the whole book, to set the tone of what our creed is. I just want to throw that out there. It just came in my mind. So verse 2, thou art clothed in purple. And the reason we're saying purple, because that denotes royalty. Any ancient civilization that wore purple, it's a noble and regal thing of our people. Oh, you got purple on.
I know, right?
Everybody got purple. I noticed
And
so, thou art clothed in purple, denotes royalty, and seated on a throne. The crown of majesty invested thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand, but not for thyself, for these and signs given, not meant for thy own, but for the good of thy kingdom. We hold these truths to be evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. Verse 3, The glory of a king is the welfare of his people. Think trust law, think trustee, think duty, think evidence of debt. His power and dominion rest on the hearts of his subjects. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Chapter 5 of the Holy Quran, divinely prepared by Noble Jew Ali. Unity, or chapter 10, I'm sorry. Chapter 10, unity of Allah and man, verse 12. And Jesus said, or Yahshua said, quote, Allah, I speak about is everywhere. What I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be encompassed with walls or hedged about with bounds of any kind. All people worship Allah, the one, but all people see him not alike. This universal Allah is wisdom, will, and love. All men see not the same triune or trinity Allah. One sees him as Allah of might, another as Allah of thought, another as Allah of love. A man's ideal is his God, and so as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today, tomorrow is not God. The nations of the earth see Allah from different points of view, and so he does not seem the same to everyone. Man names the part of Allah he sees, and this to him is all of Allah, and every nation sees a part of Allah, and every nation has a name for Allah. You Brahmins call him Parabrahm. In Egypt, he is Thoth. And Zeus is his name in Greece. Jehovah is his Hebrew name. But everywhere, he is the causeless cause, the rootless root from which all things have grown.
Mhm. Interesting. Mhm.
I think I'm gonna stop this segment. I'm open the floor for questions before I transition to the next section. Anybody got any thoughts on that? Anything they would like to share? Anything that vibrated?
Could you explain the republic again? I want to break that down. What is the form of the republic of government versus democrat?
So a republic form of government is a government where one, the people is ran by the people. So the people placed trustees in place. And another dimension of it is the fact that it's the people. So, you know, the same nationality of people are the governors.
So the key to republic is all nationality are the same. So we can't, a republic wouldn't have a foreign government, a foreign.
The people are the ones, like their votes count, like they're the ones telling the officials kind of what to do. Like
Now.
that.
Well, so in that case, so we're still in a democracy where we're voting and making decisions and laws. So how is that different?
Because
Under democracy.
so democracy is really mobocracy, where a small few are calling the shots on everything,
Okay.
but it looks like everybody's voting. And here's why I say that. So when you place votes in the democracy system,
Mhm.
if you notice, there's something called the electoral college,
Right.
right? So that's the root word for electoral is elect, or have an electing power, or your vote counts basically, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So for instance, like we're about to do, once we transition, we're gonna do an election, right? And once we figure out who the new board members are gonna be,
Mhm.
that's our electoral college. So if you're not part of our electoral college, your vote doesn't count,
Mhm.
right? So the same thing with the United States. Most common men and women that go into the ballot, they're not part of the electoral college. So it's just data, just because, so once people vote, they have data now. And they be like, okay, so the people want to see this person. So they'll put the puppet that they got the data, like everybody, okay, we want him. they'll put that person and he'll win.
Yeah,
But he's obligated to bylaws of who he works for, not the people outside of that. We're not part of the bylaws of the United States. We're not board members of the United States.
okay, so within the electoral college, how does the electoral college make that decision? The people, the mass people are saying we want this person. So the electoral college is basically gonna ordain that to make it happen.
Right, just to
Because
satisfy.
they have to, the electoral college has to agree that what the people are saying, they want him, but what if the electoral college decides, we don't want him, but the people want him,
Right.
They do what
they
want.
can do what they want.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's,
Yes.
Yeah, so that they have the power, not like
they have the power. We don't.
they'll just look at it and see like,
Sometimes they can follow it. If they
they'll,
wish.
they'll only follow it if it's to keep, like, if the most people doing that, they'll do it just to satisfy, to keep the people from being on them.
Right. They have
But in actuality,
If it's like a tie, they can still choose whoever, you know?
yeah, you know what I mean? It's not like the people really chose.
Right.
They
They
looking
made
at
a-
it,
they
because
made a-
sometimes they might not. They'll look at it and might not do it. Just depends. It just depends how they feel, right? But 9 times out of 10, like for instance, Obama, you know, all the blacks and African Americans,
Mhm.
they knew based on the data that they got that that's who our people wanted.
Right,
So they put him in. So now people get relaxed, like, oh, it's a new day. We
right.
finally got a black president.
Right.
So now people's more passive. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And not, you know what I mean?
So the electoral college is who makes up the electoral college?
That would be like the like they do business as Congress, they do business as the Senate, they do business as legislating bodies, and they're DBA, right? That's
And we, so, and the people do not have any say on who is elected to the electoral college.
right. That's already done.
That's already done.
Nobody
Okay, so
elected.
so we have no power
In a democracy.
in a democracy. I see it. I see it. I never really understand
It's almost like they picking from them.
amongst themselves.
You know, almost like the Congress is picking from the Congress. Like
Yeah.
you could be
Mhm,
like, you know what I mean?
mhm.
And just to keep it really simple, like, once again, we got, if you have a corporation or organization, they have board members. If you're not part of that organization, your vote doesn't count. It's that simple.
They do have board. It is a board.
Yeah.
It's a corporation.
It's a
So
board.
that's the board members.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you're not part of that, how would your vote count? How would somebody outside of Belief Society, for example, vote count if they're not part of the board?
According to the board, exactly.
Now, we can,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying? So it's just that simple.
And that's the part that they try to make it so confusing. I think the average person is really not gonna try to understand it to that degree. They're gonna look at, I voted, I voted, I did my part, but did you vote? But your vote, really, what is it gonna mean?
They don't know how, we don't know how to run government, like nobody will lead says, that the European will teach you how to run government, because, they're gonna keep killing us off like this, and eventually we'll learn, and then learn the tricks and the trades of what's really going on out there,
Mhm.
and how our vote is not counted.
So in the sense of now looking at the Republic version of this, the Republic, we would need to have a electoral college. It would, the votes would come naturally from the nationalized community who's voted, and that's gonna be the law. How is that maintained though? To say who's maintaining that form of government? Like how we.
There's nothing wrong with the electoral college. But you just want to be clear, like, this is, who's part of the electoral college and who's not. That's the difference. In a democracy, it's a smoke and mirror that the people vote is counting. But in a republic, the people vote is really counting, right? So like I say, when we get done and get to our elections and amendments right now, after, it's gonna be the body that's involved right now is gonna make an election. Who the board members are gonna be, right? So essentially the people collectively come together in a society and be like, okay, these are gonna be the board members that have voting power. That's done, right? The people agree, all right? Now, these members are gonna choose trustees. The board members are gonna choose
Yes.
trustees are elected officials.
Now
Right.
that part I understand. So give me an example of a country that's republic, so I can kind of see that there. How another country operates under a republic. Would that be?
Venezuela.
Okay, like that.
I think Cuba.
And Cuba was.
There's a couple African countries.
Oh.
They
so-
call something republic. You can hear it in their name or
In
something
the
something
name,
republic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not very, they're dying out because
There's not that many.
they're being colonized.
Yeah.
And their democracy is, democracy is just all over. It's like a
Yeah.
like a curse,
Yeah,
like
most of the world.
like it's coming in and eating up the countries,
Mhm.
just changing everything. Well, anyway, we already.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay. Thank you.
I think that was.
Let me get that clear.
Any questions on the Zoom? Any thoughts?
Is it too smoky?
Oh, that's fine. All right, so I'm gonna transition to the book Spirituality Before Religion. Just read a small segment in here dealing with the 7 characteristics of the human soul. Chapter 2.
Mhm.
All right. 7 characteristics of the human soul. According to the writings of ancient African scientists in Kush, Kemet, or Egypt, the human soul was divided into 7 sections. The soul, Ba, was believed to be the sum total of each human. The heart, Ab, was the vibration of the soul, while the spirit, Ka, of each person was the same. The soul differentiated one person from another. Like the drops of water in the great ocean, all drops are in the same body of water, the universal Ka, but each drop is different, the individual Ka, from each other. Each characteristic of the soul, Ka, Ba, Kaba, Anku, Seb, Ptah, and Antmu, describe the varying natures within the human being. The varying natures within a human being. The combining the 7 levels of the soul, the ancient African scientists realized and taught that the power of the soul manifested itself through the transmutation of transformation. The ancients nurtured the nature of each section of the soul by obeying the 42 laws of Ma'at. Each human being was essentially connected with the universal divine force and with everything else in nature. Dr. Wade Nobles defined these 7 souls as 1, Ka, which from conception and birth to 2 years, the ages of enhancing the senses. So we're breaking our lives up from conception to about approximately 2 years. We're dealing with the Ka, or enhancing of the senses. The Ka is the principal spiritual essence. It is the animating force within the human that connects all living things with each other, from plants to animals to humans. The individual Ka is a microcosm of the universe, which is the macrocosm. The Ka demonstrates that the human being is of heavenly energy, as well as earthly matter, The Ka acts as the glue that keeps all aspects of the soul united. The Ka possesses magical and mystical powers. The Ka is the force that gives the soul its wings, allowing it to resurrect at death to fly into the next phase of life, into the eternal temple of immortality. 2, dealing with Ba. Ba now. Ages 2 through 6, dealing with the age of acquiring foundational knowledge. Through ages 2 through 6, the ages of acquiring foundational knowledge. The Ba, BA, is the sum total of each human. It is the essence of breath, the living force within each human that gives each person his or her own individual personality. On a biological level, the Ba flows within the circulatory system or the blood and is the imprint of DNA. It is the unseen energy that creates all seen functions that exist in all and everything. When the Ka is infused with the Ba, a unique being is created that has its own divine character. Some call this period the terrific twos. The operative aspect of the child is questioning everything. Right, so we have children are very inquisitive, right? That 2, a lot of questions, right? That remember the age of acquiring foundational knowledge. So it makes sense why the child is inquisitive at this time, right? They're trying to acquire foundational knowledge for the future.
So we've been taught that that's the terrible two.
Right.
So you
Terrible
don't,
too.
they're not supposed to be enlightened at that time. That's what they're just.
Christ of the parents.
But it's not really terrible. That's where they're coming into they're coming into themselves
Right.
at that point.
You have to answer them.
Understand the word.
Right, they've never been, like, they've been here before, but they, they're remembering, and it's like, they have so many questions, what's that? What's that? But,
Yeah. I know, but the thing is, though, we're taught that that's a bad part of this age. They're
Right.
gonna get on your nerves. This is so we already are designed to. I'm not gonna deal with this little baby. I'm trying to figure it out. You giving that energy like
They're not enlightened.
this is instead of understanding this is the natural order of things, and they're in a pivotal stage of their development at that point. And it's spiritual,
Mhm.
very spiritual, according
Yeah.
to creation of all that.
Yeah.
creation.
And then, in our society, or not our, but the society we're in the midst of, they groom the parents to be like, shut up, you're talking too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go back to all these questions, like, versus allowing that exploration. Yeah, you know what I mean? So,
Like being impatient with them.
mhm,
A lot of people aren't patient, like, you just answer them.
yeah,
They want to know what's that in the sky, what's this, they're always asking questions, and if you answer them, then they'll know, then you'll teach them.
Yeah.
So they won't.
mhm. All right, so we, transitioning, number 3, the Kaaba, right? We went from Ka-Ba, now we're dealing with Kaaba. Ages 7 through 9. The age of pre-reasoning.
Mhm.
The Kaaba is the spirit of the soul.
Mhm.
It is the unseen protector of the auras that emanate from the Jed, or the human body. I know everybody heard of the Jed pillar and Jedi mind and things like that, but Return of the Jedi, right? There is a natural connection from this outer protection with the inner auras we call the chakras. It unites emotion with motion.
Mhm.
It unites emotion with motion. It nurtures and sustains the senses with the ability to perceive light and heat energy that creates the color spectrum. The Kaaba is, and so, the color spectrum, that's why you have purple is associated with what chakra? Crown, right? The the color red is associated with Rosh Hashanah, the root, right? So that's what we're meaning with we talk about color spectrums.
Mhm.
The Kaaba is the seat of temptation and plays a part in the diseases of the human body. It is the cosmic library that contains all the information that has ever existed, exists now, and will ever exist. It is the place that humans go to assess universal wisdom. So you're going within to assess wisdom, right? Humans at their will can reach into the recesses of their own consciousness and retrieve valuable information
Mhm.
from within, right? It assures us that all wisdom we need resides within each person. The Kaaba acts as a protective shield. During this period, children begin to compare and contrast their life's experiences.
Mm.
Number 4, Aku, AKHU, Aku, typically from the ages of 10 through 11. The age of reasoning, the ages of reasoning. The Aku is the center of the intellect, reason, and language. It houses emotional wisdom and mental perception. The Aku explains the mystical and mysterious worlds. The characteristics of the Aku is judgment, analysis, and emotional and mental reflection. These characteristics are skills that need to be developed over time and dedicated to the ascension of the divinity within each person. The Aku is the soul of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So this, we're talking about 1011, right? That this these intellectual faculties to want to reason start developing, right?
Mhm.
Transitioning to number 5, SEB, SEB, dealing with ages 12 through 14. The age of the sense of self-concept. Self-concepts. Self-concept, right? The Seb is the ancestral soul. Ancestral soul.
Mhm.
Ancestral soul.
What's the ages again?
12 to 14.
Mhm. That's very key too, because we have a concept of, when you're looking at the astrological charts, they say the age is 12, no, it's 12, 12, 24, 36, the cycles of 12.
Mm.
And they probably tuning into some of this because at 12, you're supposed to have, it's a very pivotal point of development, and you're supposed to experience negative or positive energies on yourself at that point. It's pivotal, very pivotal.
Mhm.
And then you have this right here, it's saying that you're tapping into your ancestral
Ancestral soul.
soul. So at 12, between 12 and 14, they're right in line with what they're talking about here, looking at the astrological sign of 12, 24, 36, 48.
Mhm. Mhm.
Anyway,
Ancestral, so what, you can speak on that?
My mind goes to Akashic Records because
Mhm.
if you tapping in, you just remembering what your ancestors kind of left in your DNA, you know,
Or who you were before.
who you were
like past
before,
life.
past life, yeah.
We are the ancestors, so it's like we're just revamping ourselves in 2000, you know, we're that same spirit, just like Nova Drew Ali, that same spirit as Muhammad and the same spirit as
Exactly.
Jesus, you
That's the
know?
best example. I don't know if y'all heard her on Zoom,
Mhm.
but that's an excellent example as far as how Buddha, Confucius, Muhammad, Yeshua, and Noble Drew Ali are essentially the same person.
Ancestral soul.
Yeah, they're on the same mission.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But he just
They
continued.
are the same person. They both represent, all of them represent justice.
Mhm.
So Prophet Noble Drew Ali is Joshua. He is, because that's justice. That's what that represents. That's the metaphysical, meaning he brought us a divine constitution. It's in the Acts. That's it right there. That's justice right there for all equality, for all of us.
Yeah,
Mhm,
that same energy,
mhm.
same energy.
Yep,
Same energy.
the cliche saying, bring that same energy,
I
like,
mean, that same energy. Yes,
yeah,
that's that, baby. Energy back,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, that's funny. But, all right. Right, so the ancestral soul within each person. It is the collected lineage of each human being. The Seb is the collected unconscious soul of the creator in unity with the ancestors. The Seb is the parents, grandparents, great grandparents, and the entire past lines of descent. This soul manifests itself in human beings during adolescence and puberty. This soul is evoked during the rite to pass celebrations at the age of 12 or 13. These ceremonies awakened, greeted, and were welcomed by the community while joining its initiates Ka, Ba, Kaba, and Aku souls. The evidence of the presence of the Seb is the ability of the adolescents to reproduce himself, right? So, right,
Mhm.
puberty is where you start developing the reproductive organs, right? The Seb reminds the individual that the act of reproduction is a sacred act to be represented that also has regenerative properties. The community realizes that it is his or her duty to teach these sacred lessons to their children. The Seb is that part of the soul that remains on the earth after their physical life in the form of offspring. And I was going to say too, I was going to add when she was speaking on that, I got in contact with my uncles, and but my dad transitioned about 2009,
Yeah.
About two-
2009.
about 2009,
Mhm.
and I was still incarcerated. So when I got out, I started getting in contact with my dad's side of the family, um, and my uncles were letting me know stuff about my dad when he was a teenager that I didn't know about, and they were like, "Man, this, that, and the third." And I started looking up, like, "Man, this is me. Like, this is like my mentality." You know what I mean? So that's where kind of my mind goes. Like, he's still here through me.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, I think you would feel it more because of the fact that he left at an early age.
Mhm.
He transitioned, unfortunately, to health problems. So that naturally would be he's gonna be here to manifest through you because he knew it wasn't time for him to go yet.
Right.
Well, it's not for us to say it's not time. It's the way that he left at an early age.
Mhm.
So he was at like 55. I'm 58.
Right.
And he was 55.
Yeah.
So he was still young, you know. So, but yeah, you definitely have a lot of him, and I see it all about. I see him manifest. I had an epiphany of the music and how you got just, especially with the spiritual books and everything. You know how you take into it. It's like I look at you sometimes. I'm like, dang,
Yeah, right.
you're your father for
Yeah.
real, because
Yeah.
because I gravitated to his father based on by him being so spiritual, and it opened up, and I'm like, you just a whole new, and I didn't know he was going this direction. I didn't know that Bobby was going to start, you know, getting attached to, you know, to learn the knowledge that you're learning to become who you are becoming. You know, it was just a matter because, you know, we all were a part of the nation, studying spiritual books and things like that. But yeah, as I said, that is your father
Mhm.
and manifestation, definitely in him.
Yeah.
Genes.
Yeah. You
Genes
can't.
are crazy.
Yeah, the genes, right? DNA.
DNA stuff.
But yeah, I just wanted to just share that. That
Yeah.
came to my mind. All right, so 6, Ptah. I know most people are familiar with Ptah. Egyptian Book of the Dead readers, maybe not, but we'll get into it right now. Ptah, ages 15 through 19. The ages of connecting the higher order thinking skills with mental ascension. The Ptah is the soul of the original creator of creators, our first mother and father that is in each of us. The Ptah is our original ancestor, the creator. Ptah is the cosmic memory that matures each individual. It governs and directs self-discipline and initiates and maintains respectful and ethical conduct. Ptah, as a level of the human soul, can be compared to the Ptah of the Mephite text, the primeval heel. Ptah, rising from the primeval waters of Nun or Noon. And that's why if anybody would have read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, this stuff is in there. So Ptah is like the generative force, what causes life to come out the waters. That
Oh.
was causing that rise,
Mhm.
that generation. That's referred to as Ptah in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, right? The generator. So Ptah as a level of the human soul can be compared to Ptah in the Mephite text, the primeval heel. And also when a turban is wrapped around the fez, that represents Ptah, because it appears that the fez is rising above the waters of the turban. That'll be an example
Remember when the baby's born, it comes out
of the waters.
I know Pedro's picture, he's bringing the life back with the woman in the can,
Oh,
out the water. It's
Ptah.
like bringing the water back. I mean, bringing the life back. That reminded me of that.
Yeah. He
He's
yeah,
scary.
because he's the generative force,
Yeah.
or what represents, like he just said, all the prophets will be the generative force to bring life out of the waters, or the truth out of
Right,
not truth,
and he was carrying the woman.
out the water, right? Yeah. So he will be, so Noble Drew Ali will be Ptah in that
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah,
It's a
and
picture.
she's
of
the
Noble
life,
Ali.
like, you
Yeah.
know, hold the source.
You seen that
It's a-
picture? You never seen
It's
that
on a
picture?
one-on-ones booklet.
Yeah.
You
I've
get
seen
the-
that. He's holding.
It's a drawing, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like he's carrying the woman, she's like, you know.
She's unconscious
She's
from the
unconscious.
cares of the world. She just,
Ah.
he's bringing her back to the light.
Like her, you know, her son is helping her come back, like, come on, wake up.
Yeah. All right. So Ptah, rising from the primeval waters of Nun, bringing forward Tamu or Atum, who names all things and gives each thing its place in the universe. Ptah makes possible Atum, the divine voice of deep thought. Ptah, in harmony with Aku, conceives a cosmic wisdom which requires self-knowledge, self-discipline, self-mastery in the service of one's higher being in order to be considered a worthy citizen of the beloved cosmic community. And number 7 will be the last one, Atmu. We're dealing with ages 20 through eldership. So basically 20 and beyond. And these are the ages of uniting the 7 souls. So everything we talked about, uniting them, it's all in play. The Atmu is the divine eternal soul. It is represented by parenthood. Atmu contains the presence of full creative powers and the ability to create the future. It is the diplomatic ambassador that defines the personality of the individual. Atmu unifies and synthesizes Ka, Ba, Kaba, Atku, Seb, and Ptah. So the previous 6, Atmu unifies. Ancient Cushitic and Kemites built a temple in the city called Waset. They named it the Epet, meaning the holy place, but today it is called the Grand Lodge of Luxor. This temple was built in the direct proportions of the human body. It is called the Temple of Man. However, it has also been noted that the construction of the temple also measures the growth of the human soul through its 7 levels that we discussed right now.
Where's the Grand Lodge? The Grand Lodge Luxor, they have that in Vegas, and
Yeah.
it is the way it's made. It is, and they said that basically, however, it has been noted, the construction of the temple measures the growth of human souls through its 7 levels.
Mhm. Right.
That's really interesting. And at age 20 is parenthood. You elevated to that point of, we now look at when you're 21, you're grown. 20 to 21, you're considered to be grown, and they're trying to make it seem like, okay, this is, they're just taking the concepts of how we develop in this society is just little bits and pieces of all of our own spiritual. They already see at this point in your growth, this is where you're gonna be. Now you're an adolescent, now you're this, and now you're that, and now you're grown at 21. You're considered a full, you've transformed into your human body,
Mhm.
and now you're mentally capable of being all this, and this right in parallel to what they're talking about here at this last stage.
Mhm. Yeah.
You have the ability to create your future with
Mm.
with that spirit,
Mhm.
with that manifestation.
Yeah. Emperor Shuja el-Islam. Emperor Shuja el-Islam, peace and love. So that was it for this portion. Any thoughts, any questions? Just, we have some conversations, talk about what was discussed either in this segment, the segment before, dealing with trusteeship and things like that. Any thoughts at all? In the Zoom or in person? Anybody?
I just think, I don't know, it's kind of crazy to me because I was watching, not what I was watching, some type of documentary on Netflix. It was 2 different ones. It was like, I think Waco and one about, I forgot that one, it was like a Mormon, like college. And it's funny that we were talking about those different chapters and like the ages and stuff, right? And at 13 or was it 12 and 14, they're kind of getting into puberty. It's like more with nature and all this. And it's in society how people see it when older men are like crying on these younger girls is seen as something bad. But in all actuality, it's like, I don't know how to, it's just weird. Like they're in tune, but I
nature,
feel like it's not in a positive way.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, it's just weird how both of these 2 different sides are kind of all connected and having the same view on how these things are supposed to work. I just think that, I don't know, I view it how I view it, but it makes sense though. You know, now they're coming of that and they're prepping them, getting them ready, which, you're supposed to do, you're supposed to get them ready, but not in that sense of how they were doing it.
Yeah.
Just exactly. It's more of talking, speaking to them, showing them the books and giving them this knowledge, and they're using it to their advantage, right? Exactly, maliciously. So it's just crazy though. How
Back in the day, they did that a lot.
yeah.
Even with Elvis and that age, she was like 12, 14.
Yeah.
But it was happening a lot.
Right.
I think in the Hispanic community, they do it a lot too. They are in tune with this because I think when they have those, the daughters, when they have those quinceañeras, once they actually turn, was it 12? Is it? Oh, it's 15. It's not 12. Okay, maybe not. I'm thinking they're the same.
But even still, how it's being done is not, in my opinion, it's a way to do it, like talking, showing them the books, getting them, prepping them, and making them ready. That prepping their way is not,
Well, when we were watching, he was taking over, calling shots.
Muhammad?
Muhammad.
what in the
Son?
Ottoman.
Yeah, I remember he was like 12.
Yeah. Right. The Ottoman, yeah.
Oh,
The
yes, right.
Yeah.
He was a baby at that time.
Yeah.
Muhammad.
Uh-huh.
He was going to give him the throne at 12 or 2, very
That's when his
young.
dad died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, wasn't, no, his dad, his dad was sick or something, or
Mhm.
he took it back, his son.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he ended up taking it back. But he gave him, and he was calling shots to everybody. It was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the
Yeah.
most of the sultans, like when they first got in their position, was like teenagers. Like
Yeah.
they'd be real young.
Mhm.
They'd be ready though, because based on like
Based on this.
Yeah.
Right.
they groomed in this.
Doing it right,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Because when he actually took over, Constantinople, he was what, 21?
Yep. Yeah, he was like Muhammad II, 21.
He was like 21, 20,
You know,
something
shut
like
down
that.
Constantine.
Yeah, he was
You know,
Constantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then his dad's advisors was even like, "Ooh," you know.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah.
weren't, remember, they weren't really kind of getting along with like his advisors
Yeah,
too.
they were, conflicting,
Mhm.
but he was still young. That's the point. Like he's young and he did that. Like, it was just crazy.
He's like,
Think
I'm
about
about
it.
y'all.
Yeah, he's still at that age.
Even Yeshua, they taught him, he
Right.
became, he was 12.
12.
Yeah.
He was 12 when he became.
Wow.
So they use that still in the
Yeah.
Bible to show. Mm-hmm.
They're just so pure at that age, so
Mhm.
pure and innocent, and they can see so much if you allow them to.
Right.
Again, like if they start asking questions at 2, 3, and you actually answer them, they can learn a lot, and have a really good, clear, innocent perspective,
Mhm.
peripheral out there,
Yeah.
Mhm.
really.
Sheikh Supreme Al. Hey,
Islam Noble.
Islam, man. What's your thoughts, man?
Man, I'm loving the conversation, man. I'm loving the building. I'm out here just taking it in. I've been in the torch. I've been in the torch. I shared the Morris Tactical. We was going through it with. I was going through it with the Noble I'm yesterday. So he was just basically telling me about his experience. I think he came from a Nation of Islam, Fruit of Islam background. His father was a new Black Panther Party member, and he said they was having problems with the party, but he was basically telling me, learning from the more that he met out here, the brother named Brother Truth, a good more, but he was basically saying him and his faction, the people he was dealing with, they was having problems with the Moor and the Moorish American thing, and like the explanation of why we would call ourselves that, and I was basically, we was, going about the Moorish Empire aspect, North, South, Central America, the adjoining islands, how we're naturally the Americans by definition, a copper colored original races pre Columbus. Now I give it to the Europeans, and how they're by corporate, in the public considered, in a corporate way, they're considered Americans, but we're the real Americans. You can only be an American if you're an indigenous Moor for the most part. So as a Moorish pertaining to the empire, and whether you call yourself a Moor, that means I know I'm a Moor, or if I'm a Moorish American, it's like more detailed and descriptive, like I'm describing exactly what type of a Moor I am, being pertaining to America. But I was just telling myself next Sunday I'm gonna bring them so I can have them right here. I'm gonna have them start building with me, have them on the Zoom with me, and eventually I'm gonna be out there with y'all. I told you my whole family's from my family from out there, so I'll be out there with y'all soon. But I'm gonna have them more with me, on the Zoom so he can tap in. But I'm loving it, man. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Love you too, man. Islam.
It's Islam.
Islam.
He brought up the Nation of Islam again, and I have some questions on that still. We talked about that in the other meeting, in our Friday night meeting. So when we followed the timeline of Noble Jew Ali, Master Farah Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad to Farrakhan.
Mhm.
Is that kind of like the timeline? Okay, so who taught Noble Jew Ali? That's where I'm stuck.
So it depends if you're saying
How
taught,
did,
if you're saying taught in the sense of nationality.
Yes.
So he was an Egyptian adept. He was Timothy Drew, the Egyptian adept, and he was what they call Cherokee, right? Even though that's the corrupted name, but we get.
Mhm.
So he knew he was from here just on that tip, right?
Mhm.
He went to the east, and met Sultan
Oh,
Aziz, and he got the information about how this is the empire
Okay, that's where it
and,
started.
and how he
Got it.
Moors. He came back with that info.
Okay.
It just
then-
went nuts. He's exploded, like,
Okay.
you
But
know.
he was well on
Okay.
his way. He grew up knowing,
So
you
he-
know, a lot already from his mom and dad.
Because remember, I was sending them pictures.
Yes.
It wasn't even a percentage.
Yes.
It was like if you had 10,000 Moors in Chicago that knew they was Moors, and we still haven't even seen pictures that produced that right there.
Mhm. Okay.
But
They had
that's
enough
the
to
FBI and all
bankrupt
that.
the States.
Bankrupt the United States. So that shows you how many people how many minds he took out of that blind faith system
Mhm.
from a time of 1912 to 1928, which is a short period. You know what I mean? That he woke a lot of people up.
Okay, okay, so basically, yeah, he was already searching for the truth, or knew it was that something wasn't right here in this on this.
He knew he
continent.
wasn't shit from Africa. He already knew that.
He knew that, and so then with that, with him going over and traveling to and meeting the other sultans, and they basically gave him the insight of this is what you need to know. Take it back to your people. But I saw this with you announced. You put this on the Instagram, the letter where they were at a
Hotel,
no, was it the hotel?
1986.
Yes. Where was that?
That might have been in Washington. It
And
was-
that was Noble Drew Ali was there.
No. That was a celebration. So 1986, he already transitioned. He transitioned 1928. But
Okay.
the Kingdom of Morocco had a king, King Hassan II,
Uh-huh.
and he came and was letting it be known, like, yeah, we know about the historical connections between our governments and the governments of North Central and South America.
Mhm.
But that don't matter if the people today still acting like they're Black, Negro, colored. And I'm paraphrasing. That's essentially what he's saying.
Okay, in this letter.
Right.
Mhm.
So that shows a lot of things. For one, the Kingdom of Morocco know about this being the Moroccan Empire.
Yes,
The king, right?
a king.
So
yes.
it's not like it's a
And that was
secret.
in 1986.
Of 1986.
So that's still current knowledge, and we can touch
Yeah.
that. And actually, they know, so they know what's going on over here still.
We just gotta be woke. It's like, we gotta do
Mhm.
some internal waking up our people internally here in America.
Mhm.
Because there's people that's willing to work with us. But we just gotta just, like I say, show and prove
So they
that we
know.
don't necessarily need to be begging. We intellectual enough to get our own thing going on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that cleared it up. So Noble Drew Ali, Master Farah Muhammad, no, Wallace for Farah Muhammad. And then it was Elijah Muhammad, and then Elijah Muhammad taught Farrakhan. This is where we are right now,
Right.
pretty much, as
Right,
far as any insight of if someone talking about any of this.
Mhm.
Farrakhan is not giving us complete truth, but at least there's some awareness. He's the only person talking right now.
Right.
We don't
Yeah.
have anybody that's really this enlightened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're not gonna be, because it's just gonna have to be, it's gonna have to be us. It's gonna have to.
Yeah. That's why, being savvy with how we go about our unification. That's why, do a tour with different more science temples, just go in there as a body and just sit and listen. Just sit there and we just some more, we just listen. And just see where it goes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you see how, you was there, Brandon Bay. Like what 4 of us that day that we went over there to Brady,
Top five.
about 5 of us. And you see how they was acting. That was on their best behavior over there. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole key. They was talking about civics and all type of stuff over there when we popped up. So we want to bring greatness out of the people.
Mhm.
We don't want a status quo. And that's what we have the ability to do. But you gotta think of a strategy, even Black Negro color organizations popping up over there and just, as long as it's not combative, it's a conversation. We'll just start something, get them thinking, versus pointing the finger or whatever, like, oh, that's a dead status, that's cool for us, for people that are interested. We got institutions of learning and things like that. But when we start dealing with people that are not familiar with what we're doing, we got to just kind of meet them. But that's it, it's an idea,
On the meeting last night, I was liking the idea. I think if we can, I don't know, like going from door to door, but eventually we probably should, that could be a move. That could be
Option.
an option, just break down nationality to its ABC is formed, so that in speaking with people, you don't want to make it a long drawn out, but just kind of boom, 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 this is the point. These are the points. Think about that, just know who you are, basically. Something really light
Yeah.
and just so they can start thinking. Like, oh, okay, well, thank you. And I'm this is a little different than what I've been hearing, and just have them think about something for a minute. And then,
Yeah.
because I can't see us, trying to get this information out. It's gonna have to be spoon fed. Really.
For people that's all the way in the dark.
That's always, yeah. It's gonna have to be spoon fed.
Unless, like I said, that's why I advocate everybody getting it grounded, so you're able to eloquently tell somebody. Because once you got it, you'll be prepared for any questions they have.
Right. Yes.
And you won't feel the need to just, oh, what's going on. You want to not be impulsive. And when you pretty much calm and collective talking to people, they're pouring to you. They'll ask you questions, and then that's even better. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like the more it's moving, it's too quiet. Like how you see Hebrew Israelites, loud speaker. Right, even though they all key, they get the attention.
Yeah.
You see them, you don't miss them.
You don't miss
Hear
them.
'em.
Especially over here, they be all over there.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
you riding in the
Posted
car
up.
and you hear them.
Um,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think even when Malcolm like was building the movement, the nation, it was on the corner,
Yeah.
being loud.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Right,
We ain't
right.
trying to say you nothing. We want you to come in.
Right.
But I think
Yeah.
there'll be less
know what I mean?
impact though.
We
because-
more quiet. You
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this temples in there. You don't know that you know.
Exactly.
Right.
For
That's,
real.
that's
You
true.
don't know that you know.
Yeah.
That's how we move. You don't, if you in, but you ain't out there. What is that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. That once again, like that's me personally, I want to kind of go do a tour. Like I say, it's 3 members in that temple. And if we go to another temple, just, you know what I mean? And just get it bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? And then social media, like I say, in El Ha's time, there wasn't no social media. So I think social media is a powerful tool. Because like shit, a lot of the members on here just based on the page, you know what I'm saying? So that's powerful as well. And a combination of both. I think like when we do celebrations, like summer solstice, winter solstice, and I think that'd be an opportunity to kind of be out, feathers and turbans, and maybe have some type of billboard or something saying, like you said, the bullet points, nationality, political status, whatever we come up with, and just schedule it out, like maybe twice a month, just kind of be out. And that's kind of like what the summer was about, at the beach. We did a whole summer. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to make that happen there too. But I hear, I hear what you're saying too. It's like we're on the same page of looking like, how can we get out to the public to let them just know what's going on? How do we let them get to know the people who don't come? They're not
I got a
coming.
buddy. I ain't never seen no more. You know what I mean?
Right.
You seen the Hebrew Israelite.
Right.
You seen the nation of Israel.
Right.
Never seen no more.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
man.
so quiet.
Yeah,
Well, that's by design too.
it is by design.
It's by
It
design.
is.
Yeah.
I think the Moors are more attacked because they are on the right page.
That's, you know what I mean? We
You
the
know?
uncut truth.
Yeah.
That's, they don't want, they don't really.
So the Hebrew, they know the Hebrews are off. They know the Hebrews.
Good
They-
point.
So, you know, like,
They're not gonna get
yeah,
stopped. Yeah,
You
go on, keep
know,
on speaking.
they'll give
Y'all
them the
can
microphone.
You can talk as long as y'all want to. You
Yeah.
can watch if you want to. As
Right.
long as y'all
So-
not talking about what they talking about? Okay,
Yeah.
y'all, okay.
Cause
So
they'll
if they
give
start their
them,
nationality, we're gonna have to.
as long
shut
as
'em
they're
down.
off, they're giving them the platform. It's, you know, some same
Yeah.
thing with the celebrity.
Give them
They
the
know,
platform.
like, you know,
Give
so-
them-
so I think like if we talk loud and we get that attention,
Then it's
they
gonna
gonna
be-
come for us
Yeah,
before they
it's
come for
before-
people,
Yeah,
before they come for, you know.
exactly.
But it's still worth doing. I feel
It's worth
like
doing it.
it's still
For
worth
sure.
doing.
This is supposed to be- Which is why they can't mess with them, no other nation,
Right.
and it should be the same for us.
But
But you-
we're not just about religion, though, we're about nationality.
Civics.
You know?
Yes, they are.
We're about nationality and changing people's statuses out there.
Yeah.
That's the scary part for them, because they'll lose. They don't care about the money and religion. They don't care about. We you know, we're
The law.
basically worshiping on their own mind victory. So it's like not really about religion, but that status part will bankrupt them. That's that real, you know, that's that real move
Mhm.
that they don't want.
And those are what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They taking
exactly.
them out, take us
So-
out the system.
But
Yeah, when you look at it, because we're talking about status.
That man had coverage. I know
Man.
on the,
yeah.
you know, Congress, he putting it out there, people going to the top.
Yeah.
He was
And
going to
please
other
don't
countries.
But
Yeah,
scared of
but
the
after
top.
that, they designed the
Yeah.
FBI.
No, I
and
agree.
all that
No, I
stuff.
agree though.
They're gonna have to
It
slow
it
down.
needs to happen
But it needs to happen.
Because
I'm
look,
for it.
because look, for like I think what we're saying is the reason why it hasn't happened yet. But I feel like Noble Ali said, the new Moors don't have their eyes wide open, and that's
Mhm.
kind of where we at.
Mhm.
The reason why it hasn't happened yet because all these more science temples don't want it to happen. Like it's more science temples,
Everywhere.
but they're not on civics. It's inside. You got this secret, like you say.
They're on religion.
But
Mhm.
the temples like us on civics are far and in between. It's only five I can name, maybe five I know about in North America. I can literally say like they own civics. You know what I'm saying? So that's the problem. So, but even with that said, you go to multiple city halls, they got Moorish Americans or Aboriginal and Indigenous, and you can go and get the House Resolution in their city hall. So with that said, I feel like it shouldn't be, if we out and about, like, look, that would be my headliner. Like, look, it ain't no debate. You go to LA City Hall right now and talk about our people being Aboriginal and Indigenous.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You go to Chicago in their city hall, you go to Texas in their city hall, you go to Georgia in their city hall, it's the same lingo. And they got
Mhm.
literature from our, Circle 7 in there talking about how to properly woke people up, right? So I think that would be the anchor. And we just do it. Just need to just do it. You know what I'm saying? Just do it.
They're not even on the sale, nothing, just
Info.
passing literature.
Yeah.
Read this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that, because that's what they was doing. The next,
Mhm.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
about selling, nothing. You get that later.
Right.
Yeah.
Read this.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
you doing, man? Take this with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
Kelly like catchphrase.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm. Just
Mhm.
something like
Like-
this.
like, did you know the word black means dead? You know, or
Exactly,
something like,
yeah,
you know,
something like
something like
Think about
that.
it.
That's a
I
catchy,
thought about that.
catchy phrase that's not too, it's harsh, it's coming in your face, but at the same time, not too, you know, like I don't want to scare them off,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Even like the speech. It's part of it.
No, go ahead.
With the speech with the. What is that? The ambassador.
Mhm.
Oh, they were talking about? Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
Information.
Right.
That's an ambassador saying, we pulled that.
We know who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
Somebody to read that is like.
Mhm.
Mhm. That's right here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We can blow these things up,
Yeah.
have them as,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying?
Or put it in the pamphlet.
Put it in the
you know,
pamphlet.
put it in the pamphlet.
We probably have to create a,
This is 1986. We're not
That was
talking
fun.
1929.
Right.
We're
That's-
talking, this
in
is
the
like in
80s.
the 80s.
Right, I was
this is
born at
current.
that
This is-
time.
This is not, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree, and just make it, I think we just gotta create our own little pamphlet, probably, something to pass out, like you say, just for free, to hit them. With some major bullet points. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an idea, somewhere around the corner, like I said, we're gonna be doing our tour again, so we're gonna just figure out where we wanna post up at and just do what we do, figure out a location, make it happen, man, Yeah, any thoughts, comments on the Zoom? All right, everybody good? All right, so let me stop the recording.